You're listening to Pombo and Peter's Picks, the home of your favorite sports betting podcast. Presented by The Daily Goat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pombo and Peter's Picks. I'm Jason Pombo, joined as always by Peter Elves. Peter, how we doing? Happy Tuesday, or happy Thursday, I should say, as we record this on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll be in the air. Shout out.
We're not in the air yet.
Oh, no, we won't. No, we won't. No, we won't.
Big news.
That is not true.
Big news. You're taking your final right now, and I'm at work.
That is 100% true.
It is true. As the loyal listeners of this podcast know, myself and Peter are taking our talents to Vegas for the weekend to watch the Patriots-Raiders showdown at Allegiant Stadium. It's going to be the first road football game I've ever seen. So I'm looking forward to that. Have you been to any road stadiums other than baseball? Because I know you've been to Camden. I believe you've been to Yankee Stadium and Rogers.
No, I've never been to an actual football. I've been to New York for like a concert at MetLife, but that doesn't really count.
No, that doesn't count.
But no, not any football.
Yeah, I have same as you, Peter. I have never seen an away football game. I've seen away baseball games. I've been to the Rogers Center, like I said, but should be an interesting experience. You know, Allegiant Stadium is it the newest stadium in the air? What was first, that or SoFi?
It's probably SoFi was first, right?
SoFi, so Allegiant's newest?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a complete 180 of what we're used to seeing with football stadiums and stuff.
Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, I'm excited, Peter, and hopefully we get some luck, right?
Right.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
All right, so let's break down this NFL slate, Peter. First of all, let's recap how we did in Week 14. Would you like to begin?
Sure. I went a good 4-1. That was pretty good. After an 0-5 last week. We went a win on the premium pick, Bengals -6. We got the Chargers +3.5. We got the Ravens +2.5, barely. And then the Lions -2.5. And then the Raiders let me down with Baker Mayfield. Right at the end.
Baker Mayfield, huh? How about that?
I don't get it, but that's okay.
We'll talk about that game shortly, Peter. I was the complete opposite of you. I was 1-4. And it wasn't a very good week for me. I had a lot of close calls. It just didn't go my way. My first of all, I had my premium pick. I had Titans -3.5 over the Jaguars. Titans lost the game outright and got absolutely destroyed. Trevor Lawrence in his last, I think, 4 games has 10 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. So that one was wrong. I had the Giants +7 against the Eagles. The Giants got killed. I also had Chiefs -9. The Broncos had a backdoor cover there. That looked good for the first 3 quarters, but the Broncos had a backdoor cover. That screwed me. And then I was also wrong with the under 37.5 with the Bucs 49ers. That game went over. I was right about the Bucs offense, but the 49ers offense, however, put up some points, and that ended up hurting me. However, my only pick that I had correct was the over in the Lions-Vikings game, over 53. That one was right. So 1-4. And Peter, I have now lost 10 consecutive premium picks in a row.
Well, I mean, you could turn it on this week. This is going to be the first week in a long time that I actually bet on football in real life. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, Peter, good. I'm glad you got back on track. I'm sorry I let you down. We'll be back at it next week in real life. All right.
Yeah, in real life. So
yeah. All right. First of all, Peter kind of talked about the Rams and Baker Mayfield, so I think that's probably a great spot to start off today's show with. So look, the Raiders came into the game as 6-point favorites over the Rams. The Rams were starting Baker Mayfield, a quarterback who legitimately was claimed off waivers by the Rams on that Wednesday, or I think it was on that Tuesday. So he legitimately only had about, 2 days in a Rams uniform to learn the playbook, learn the personnel, get familiar with the coaching staff, everything. And the quarterback position is arguably the hardest position in sports, and especially on 2 days on 2-day notice, it's likely not going to be pretty. But Peter, Baker Mayfield and the Rams got it done, defeating my Vegas Raiders and Josh McDaniels 17-16. Baker Mayfield, like I said, he was the hero in this one. 22 of 35 for 230 yards and a touchdown. And look, Mayfield showed out, and I think the biggest takeaway I had that he was able to execute a 98-yard game-winning drive in the final minute of the fourth quarter to propel the Rams to the win. Other side of things with the Raiders, Derek Carr, he was 11 of 20, 137 yards, and he was intercepted twice. after he's looked good for the first, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 games, he kind of regressed in my opinion. The Raiders were held to only 3 second half points. I believe they only had 6 first downs in the second half. Their offense was pitiful in the second half, and ultimately that's what kept the Raiders back of winning this one. So the Raiders, who were up in this game, right? They were up, I believe, 13-3 at halftime. And I think it was 16-3 at one point. They were up by a two touchdown margin, and they were unable to hold another double-digit lead. I believe that was their 5th double-digit lead they've blown all year. Definitely looks bad for the Josh McDaniels supporters, aka myself, as McDaniels and company falls to 5-8 on the season. And look, for a while, Peter, I was starting to wrap my head around that. Are the Raiders a legitimate contender to make the playoffs? Because if they would have won this game, they would have been 6-7, rattling 4 games in a row. I was like, do they have something cooking? But the Raiders defense collapsed, and ultimately the offense couldn't do anything, and ultimately that's why the Raiders fell to 5-8, and the Rams with Baker Mayfield improved to 4-9 on pretty much a lost season for the Rams.
Yeah, shout out to the Raiders, ruining their playoff hopes. Sorry about that, Jason. I mean, you can always get them next year. Derek Carr looked terrible the second half, as you said. I mean, Josh Jacobs got hurt the second half. I think his fingers doing it. On the Rams side, I mean, John Wolford did start. He handed it off 3 times, and Baker Mayfield went in. I didn't understand that. But rip to Matt Stafford. I think his career might be a little toasted because that deal did not make sense at all. Why would you take on all that money if you're the Rams for a lost season and see what you have with John Wolford or Bryce Perkins, whoever the 3rd string quarterback was? But it's good for the Rams, good for Baker Mayfield. He looks weird wearing 17, though. Not going to lie.
He talked about post-game how he doesn't like the number 17. But I actually don't think the money is that crazy. I think the Panthers ate most of the money. I don't think the Rams owe that much. I think the Rams only owe a couple million. I think that's why they did it. But tell you what, if you're Baker Mayfield, I know a lot of people connected Mayfield to the 49ers once he was released, but the Rams could be a good situation to really try to reinvent himself. Sean McVay, who is an offensive genius, offensive mastermind, whatever you want to call him. He knows what he's doing, and he could help turn things around for Baker Mayfield. Ultimately, does he have a future in LA through this year? I would likely say no. But if he's able to finish off the year, I don't know, 3-1, and they finish off the year, let's say 7-10 for the sake of it, and Mayfield looks good, and he has a couple good games in there, could that build up his potential market for 2023, which will allow him to compete for a starting quarterback position? I think that's in the cards. And I think he understands that because he's in a situation where he doesn't have many opportunities left to be a starter. And I think he knows that. And I think that was one of the reasons why I think he tried to propel himself out of Carolina. I think the Panthers sort of were rolling with Sam Darnold as of late, and I think they were going to go with him. Mayfield hasn't been healthy. I think he knows that Carolina is sort of, they sold at the deadline, and I understand they're a game out of the division, but for the most part, Mayfield has a better chance to succeed in LA than Carolina. And if, like I said before, if Mayfield's able to compete here and grind out some wins, he's going to get a shot to compete for a starting quarterback position. I'm not saying a team's going to bring him in and be their quarterback 1, but I could see a scenario and say that, I don't know, that Houston Texans bring in Baker Mayfield to compete. Something like, you know what I mean? Something like that. He gets another opportunity to actually compete.
Baker Mayfield is not dead. You should go to the Saints.
I feel like he's been linked for the Saints for a while. I know Sean Payton was really a fan of his. Obviously Payton's not there anymore, but there's a couple different situations that make sense for him. But yeah, that was an interesting game.
Who has number 1 on the Rams? I thought it was Van Jefferson. It wasn't him. Like
the number 1, it's not Van Jefferson?
Nah, it says on their website it's number 2, but unless that's wrong. I'm trying to figure it out.
I don't know.
Because why wouldn't you take number 1?
If you didn't want number 1.
Maybe he's not number 1 anymore.
I
thought Odell was number 1.
No, number 1 is available.
Oh, maybe he doesn't want it anymore. Maybe you're right. That's a stupid aside, but it's fine.
Yeah, interesting. That's all right. It is something because he talked about how he hated number 17.
Yeah.
But besides the point, Peter, let's move on here. Let's move on to the AFC East here between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Look, the Jets beat the Bills in the first go-around about a month and a half ago, but the Bills got the best of the Jets in this one. The Bills winning 20-12 over the New York Jets. Josh Allen and company moved to 10-3 on the year. Josh Allen was 16 of 27 for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. The Jets, that loss hurt their playoff chances a bit. They fall to 7-6 on the year. Mike White was 27 of 44 for 268 yards. But Mike White did leave the game due to a ribs injury. He tried to come back a couple times, and Robert Saleh is listing him day to day, and his practice status is up in the air going forward, so that's something to monitor. But yeah, Peter, this was a game in which the Jets, I feel like, tell you what, the Jets defense is legit, but to me anyway, the Bills are clearly the class of the AFC East, and the Jets, who I think we both consider playoff on the playoff bubble. This was a game that would have been big for them, and I think it could end up haunting them in the end.
Yeah, I mean, the two tiebreakers versus New England, I mean, that's going to screw them, I think, ultimately, if it's not the Chargers. But as you said, the top 5 defense all the way around. Mike White should sue the Jets O-line because he got killed.
Yep, sacked 3 times.
And I don't understand how they let him back in, especially after the second time. I was like, holy crap, look at that. I mean, Joe Flacco, the only throw he had, and then he fumbled the ball. I mean, that's Joe Flacco. Bills on the other side. I mean, they got to figure out their offense. I feel like their offense has been clicking for like a month. And I know they're like just going to steamroll to the playoffs. Maybe get the number 1 seed, maybe not. But it is what it is.
I agree with you, though. Josh Allen and the Bills offense don't look as potent as they did last year. I know they just signed Cole Beasley, who was formerly of the Bills last year. They signed him to the practice squad, and a lot of people are saying that he's going to take over that slot receiver position that Isaiah McKenzie's been manning. So could that make a difference in the long haul? I mean, Cole Beasley hasn't played this year, so I guess we'll see. But no, you're right, Peter. I haven't necessarily been impressed with Josh Allen in this Bills offense for the better part of a month. Probably even stretches longer than that. I understand the record's there, 10-3. They're going to likely win the AFC East, and they're likely going to end up with the number 1 or at worst the number 2 seed. But I still, to me anyway, feels like there's some flaws on this team. They have some injuries, defensively specifically, and offensively, they're just not necessarily gelling as they did last year. Maybe it's due to the fact that Brian Daboll is now the head coach of the Giants. Maybe Dorsey and company haven't been able to necessarily do the same things that Daboll got them to do. But to me anyway, it felt like they were better in the early part of the year, and they've kind of tailed off at the end.
It might be Josh Allen's UCL injury or whatever it is.
Could be, yeah.
But
the one that he decided to play on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. All right, Peter, let's switch gears to another divisional matchup. This one between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. Oddly enough, Peter, the Lions who came into the game at 6-6, and the Vikings who came in the game as 10-2. The Lions were actually favored to win this game. I understand the game was in Detroit, but the Vikings, who were 10-2 coming into this game, were underdogs. And Vegas got it right. The Lions ended up beating the Vikings 34-23. Jared Goff, Peter, he continues his career season. You called him an MVP candidate earlier in the year, and Goff was awesome in this game. 27 of 39 for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. DJ Chark bursting onto the scene here, finally. 6 receptions for 94 yards and a touchdown. And how about Jameson Williams? His first game back in Detroit, 1 reception for 41 yards and a touchdown. The Lions moved to 6-7 on the season. And the Lions, they looked dead a couple months ago, and it looked like Dan Campbell was likely going to be fired. We were making fun of all the people that bet Dan Campbell to win Coach of the Year. Do you remember that, Peter?
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, so since we've kind of made fun of everyone, the Lions have won 5 of their last 6 games and putting themselves in playoff contention. The Vikings, they fall to 10-3 on the year. Kirk Cousins was 31 of 41 for 425 yards and 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson continues his dominant performance at the receiver position. 11 catches, 223 yards on 15 targets. So, Peter, are the Lions for real?
Yeah, no, it should be over the moon. I mean,
Yes.
as you said, 5 out of the 6 wins. I think they're going to get screwed, though, because of the Giants and Commanders ultimately tying a week ago or whatever that was. I don't think they're going to sneak in, especially with the Seahawks being 7-6. But one of them is going to ruin it. But, like, the Lions could have a shot. I mean, if they win out, nobody wants to play them. And I told you the Vikings were frauds. Vikings will be frauds. Jameson Williams looks really good. His speed looks pretty good. And fun fact, I mean, Nick Sirianni is going to win Coach of the Year by like a landslide, but like Dan Campbell is back up to number 2.
And I think when we made fun of him, he was like 15th.
Yeah, he's plus 900. Nick Sirianni is minus 400. He's definitely going to win that, but like, it is what it is. Good job for Lions fans.
Yeah, Noah, I will say Noah of Roughing the Basket, he is through the moon. He is so happy he was very pumped about this win because I think he probably and a lot of fans felt that the season for the Lions was sort of over. And it gets even better for Lions fans heading into the draft because they own that Rams pick, which is likely going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. So the Lions have a real chance to kind of revamp in that division going forward. Who knows how it's going to land? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to get any younger. The Packers are going to come off of a losing season. Who knows what's going to happen with Justin Fields and the Bears? Fields looks like he is legit, but it hasn't translated into wins. And Kirk Cousins is a free agent. So who knows what's going to happen with the Vikings? But yeah, it's big for the Lions, and we'll talk about the playoff picture later on in the show. But I agree with you. Ultimately, that tie could hurt their opportunity here, Peter. But for the sake of it, I will read you the rest of the Lions' schedule here. This coming week, they're at the Jets. They are at the Panthers, home versus the Bears, and then at the Packers. So I'm going to say
they could win. They could win out.
They could. I tell you what, at the Jet, defensively, that's a tough game at the Jets, and Carolina's playing well. But I will say the calling card for the Lions right now is their offense, but their defense has steadily improved since they fired their defensive backs coach. Remember they did that earlier in the year?
Yeah, I don't think it's been as stiff as it
No.
was at the beginning of the year at all.
No, it was on a historically bad pace, and it's kind of gotten back in gear. And look, say what you want about Dan Campbell, but he's switched this thing around, and a lot of people thought, tell you what, so I went to the Patriots-Lions game back in, I think it was week 4, and that was the game where the Patriots won 31-0 or 32-0, whatever it was. And the Lions didn't score a point. And it looked like Dan Campbell's future was as bleak as possible. And since that, Peter, he has been on a roll. So, again, shout out to Dan Campbell, man. Unreal.
Shout out the Lions. Shout out to Jared Goff, too. There's rumors going around that he might be the future. That might not be right, but good for him, though.
Yeah. I will say, I don't want to speak for Noah. It feels like I keep speaking for him, but Noah is coming around the idea of Jared Goff being his quarterback for the future. I'm not necessarily sold on that. I still think he's a bridge, but he's a great bridge so far. Again, his season really is difficult to debate.
Going into the draft next year, I mean, you don't even have to draft a receiver, a top 5 receiver, draft a quarterback, top 5 pick. They're in a good spot.
Yeah, they're in a very interesting spot here. All right, let's move to another NFC showdown between the Tampa Bay Bucs and the San Francisco 49ers. This was a homecoming game for Tom Brady, of course, from San Mateo. Big 49ers fan growing up, idolized Joe Montana. Everybody knows the story. And I believe it was the second time he's played in San Francisco in his career. And this game went as bad as it possibly could have for Tom Brady and company. The 49ers won 35-7 over Tom Brady and the Bucs. Brock Purdy, 16-21, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Christian McCaffrey had 14 carries, 119 yards, and 1 touchdown. McCaffrey also had 2 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers win improves them to 9-4 on the year. Other side of things, man, the Bucs are as inconsistent as it gets. Tom Brady was 34-55, 253 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And Brady and the Bucs fall to 6-7 on the season. And it's a real kick in the stones after that great comeback Tom Brady orchestrated on Monday Night Football against the Saints a couple weeks ago. And it feels like the Bucs are back to square one offensively. I'm not surprised by the outcome. The Bucs offense has so many different issues that stems so much further than the personnel is just bad all the way around. And the 49ers continue to win, even without Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance.
Yep, that's the 49ers MO. I mean, just a top 5 defense and then just work it all the way around. Falcons being the Falcons, can't help themselves, lose again. I mean, Bucs still at top of that division. Fun story about the Bucs, though. Bucs are dead to me. They might not be my Super Bowl pick anymore. Our fantasy scoring is a little weird, and they scored negative 29 points. I thought that, they would have not scored that, but, I lost by 0.7 of a point, so I was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Bucs are dead to me all the way around.
I don't blame you. In this game, in my opinion, Tom Brady showed a little bit of his age. He missed some throws. I understand the offensive line had a multitude of breakdowns, but Brady missed some throws, specifically that 4th and goal call to Mike Evans. That wasn't a great throw in the end zone. And if you're Tom Brady, you sit here 6-7. You have the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons breathing down your neck for the NFC South title. Crazy, 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 Peter. And again, I know you were a believer that they'll be fine. They'll make the playoffs and they'll probably end up getting to the Super Bowl because I mean, I don't know how people can watch it and just feel that anyway. And it feels like you kind of changed your mind on that now too.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Tom Brady, and he's been in the news a lot last week. And he's gonna go into free agency again. I don't blame him if he tries, I guess. But
yeah.
Come back to the Patriots. I know it won't happen, but
I feel like we hit the nail on the head a couple weeks ago. We said the Vegas Raiders and the Tennessee Titans, and I think that's the market.
it's logical. I mean, it makes
I think
sense.
it's the Raiders, the Titans, or he retires. I would probably say watching on Sunday, I think makes me think he's going to retire. Watching the previous week against the Saints makes me think he's going to be a Raider.
Or I mean,
So
just go back to the Dolphins. That's where you wanted to go first, too. It sucks. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Matt won't even say no. Matt won't even hate that.
good segue to this Dolphins Chargers Sunday night game, Peter. Again, Peter's a big Chargers guy. He picked them to go to the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you what, Justin Herbert might have had the best game of his NFL career. The Chargers outdueled Tua and the Dolphins 23-17. The Chargers keep their playoff hopes alive, moved to 7-6 on the year. Justin Herbert was 39-51 for 367 yards and 1 touchdown. Mike Williams, 6 receptions, 116 yards and a touchdown. And Keenan Allen finally finished the game healthy. 12 catches for 92 yards. Other side of things, the Dolphins have their second consecutive poor offensive performance. Tua was 10 of 28, 145 yards and a touchdown. Miami falls to 8-5 on the year, losing their second consecutive game. And look, the Chargers, that was a big win for them because I think a lot of people were picking the Dolphins. I think the entire Sunday Night Football crew picked the Dolphins. And this was a big win for the Chargers because Justin Herbert's got some crap lately. A lot of people calling him a social media quarterback or he can't win big games, this and that. And this was a big spot, and he delivered. And the Chargers, they look poised to go on a little bit of a run. We talked about their schedule last week or the week before, how they have a very soft remaining 4 or 5 games. And the other side of things with the Dolphins, doesn't get any easier. They play this coming Saturday in Buffalo with the snowstorm on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, Dolphin fans, Matt, you gotta be a little worried. Bills, Packers, Patriots, Jets. That's not an easy cakewalk. You can't keep sleeping. Patriots are coming down your neck. The Jets are still there. They will still make the playoffs, I think. And everybody on Twitter can stop talking about Tua is better than Justin Herbert or Justin Herbert was the wrong decision over Tua. That narrative absolutely got flipped after this game. That's what happens. I mean, when Dolphins receivers don't just run for like 200 yards after you throw it like 5 yards. Yeah. It is what it is. Good job, Chargers. Maybe they fix their defense. Their defense is still a sieve, I think. But good for the Chargers. They're still in a hunt. My playoff picture is stupid. But
I will say the Chargers, look, I thought their defense was one of the worst in the league. And look, they played really well. I know Tyreek Hill got banged up in this game with an ankle injury. But ultimately, they got the job done. Tua, again, second consecutive bad performance. I think you got to be a little worried about him. Is his ankle bothering him? Is something else up? What's going on? Did they kind of figure out Mike McDaniel's offensive scheme? Do they got to change some things up? And Jalen Waddle was sort of a non-factor in this game. He was held to 2 catches for 31 yards on 4 targets. So look, the Dolphins, again, if they fall this coming Saturday, they'll fall to 8-6, losing 3 consecutive games. They need to get things right. If you're the Miami Dolphins, you got to get things right. You have to put together a nice game plan for the Bills, who have an offense that has sort of stumbled, which we talked about earlier in the show. And I will say I'll finish saying this about Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Their schedule gets a lot easier than a lot of the other teams in the AFC competing for a playoff spot. And if Justin Herbert can continue to really battle back, then the Chargers could be looking at a playoff berth. But it's still the Chargers, Peter, and I can't get that out of my head.
Oh, Matt. Oh, I would pay to see him just like cry when the Dolphins don't make the playoffs. Mike McDaniel, Coach of the Year. Tyreek Hill, like Offensive Player of the Year. Tua, MVP. That won't happen, but come on.
They'd have to really melt. Like, they would have to probably go, 1-4 in these next 5 games?
Yeah, probably. The Jets will have to get them, and then either the Chargers or the Patriots.
1-3, I'm saying. 1-3. They would go to 9-8, and
could still happen. I mean, they do face the Jets and the Patriots. So.
Oh, it's possible. I just feels like to me, it seems unlikely. I feel like at worst they'll probably go 2-2, but I don't know. We'll see how things shake out. And but if you're a Chargers fan, you got to be coming out of this one feeling pretty good. All right, Peter. So I finally have a great playoff picture list here for the AFC and the NFC. So yeah, let's get to it. Right, Peter? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the Bills right now would have the number 1 seed in the AFC, followed by the Kansas City Chiefs with the number 2 seed, followed by the Ravens with the number 3 seed, and then the Titans, who are starting to fall at the 4 seed. So those are your division leaders in the AFC. Then the wild card spots. The Cincinnati Bengals currently own the 5 seed. The Miami Dolphins currently own the 6th seed. The Patriots own the 7th seed, and then we'll call it on the bubble. The Chargers, who are 7-6. The Jets, who are also 7-6, and then we'll throw the Jaguars in there at 10-8 because they're a couple games out of the division, and maybe if the Titans totally crap their pants. So I'll stop the list there in the AFC. All right, Peter. So when you look at this again, these playoff positions are far from complete. The one thing that stands off the page to me is the fact that the Bengals keep winning.
Yeah, Bengals keep winning. Baltimore winning versus the Steelers, even though Tyler Huntley looked like crap.
That was a big win for the Ravens.
It was a big win for the Ravens too. I think that team has more problems and is let on. Tennessee is terrible. Terrible. I mean, like, they got blown out versus the Jaguars. So, like, you can't trust the Tennessee Titans, but, like, that division's so bad, Tennessee would just be locked in. And I think the Patriots got gifted on Monday when Kyler Murray got an ACL, and then literally everybody got hurt in the first half. Everybody.
I lost a fantasy game because Ramondre Stevenson couldn't get me 2 points.
Yeah, I don't get how that field works, but, like, whatever. It's gonna be the Patriots, Chargers, and Jets fighting for the thing. New England's got to win out, but I feel like the Chargers have the best schedule all the way around, so it might be the Chargers. Don't sleep on Miami missing the playoffs, as I said before, though.
Okay, who, in your opinion, has a better chance of missing the playoffs? The Dolphins or the Chargers?
Probably the Dolphins, because the Chargers have a tiebreaker with Miami now.
It's true. It's very true. I will say I think the Dolphins slightly, because it's still the Chargers. I'm not getting off of it. It's still the Chargers. So we'll see how it shakes out. So that's the AFC right now. Moving on to the NFC here, Peter. The number 1 seed, of course, is the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe they already clinched the playoff berth. They're 12-1 right now. The Minnesota Vikings own the number 2 seed. The San Francisco 49ers own the 3 seed, and the Tampa Bay Bucs reluctantly own the 4 seed. Those are the division leaders in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys currently own the 5 seed. The Washington Commanders own the 6 seed, and the New York Giants currently own the 7 seed. And the outside looking in, the Seattle Seahawks at the 8 seed at 7-6. The Detroit Lions at 6-7 are the 9 seed right now. I'll throw the Green Bay Packers in at 5-8 as the 10 seed. I'll throw them in. And then I'm also going to throw in the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Both are at 5-8 right now, sitting 1 game back of the Bucs in the division. All right, Peter. So, again, the one thing when I look at this playoff list, the Tampa Bay Bucs are in some trouble. A 1-game lead over the Falcons and the Panthers. The Panthers are playing some really good football now. The Falcons just made a quarterback change. Desmond Ridder is going to be the quarterback for the remainder of the season, with Marcus Mariota going on IR with a knee injury. So, do you think the Bucs are ultimately going to hold on?
Probably. No, I'll still banging that drum until I believe it when I see it. Nobody wants to take control of that division. The Saints should be fired. They're starting Andy Dalton again. I mean, Jameis Winston, what do you do to that GM or coach? But yeah, the Tampa Bay will make the playoffs reluctantly.
So you are not
No, because like once I believe in Carolina, they'll slide down, or like once I believe in Atlanta, they'll slide down, or like the Saints when they stop starting Andy Dalton, even to give Taysom Hill, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like they won't do that either.
I will say, going into last week, I thought there was a 90% chance the Bucs made the playoffs and won the division. I would probably put that right now at like 60%. I've lost some confidence. I really have. But I still ultimately think they'll win the division. How about the wild card teams? I know we talked about the Detroit Lions hanging around, but that tie with the Commanders and the Giants could ultimately bite them. And the Seattle Seahawks currently are still in front of them as well. So, do you think that, how would you, again, let's put a percentage on it. What are the percentage chances the Lions make the playoffs?
I think it's like 30-40%. I think the Giants are going to get out ultimately. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, and the only reason why they didn't lose their 4th game because they tied with the Commanders. So the Giants look absolutely terrible. They're coming down the earth. I think Seattle is going to get the Giants spot if Detroit doesn't. I want Detroit so bad, though. Nobody wants to play Detroit. Detroit's so hot. Good job, Noah, though. Like, if the Lions make the playoffs, Noah's going to be so happy. Then they can beat Minnesota. Sorry.
You're right. No, keep going.
Yeah, they can beat Minnesota, and then, darling.
I'd put it at 35%. That's where I'd put it. And probably going into the weekend, I would have put it at like 2%. But now I'm up to like 35%. I think they have a shot. They need some teams to kind of fall apart. They need the Giants to really fall off, which I think has a shot. and they need the Seattle Seahawks to continue to kind of fall, which again could happen. So I don't necessarily rule it out. We'll see how that plays out, Peter.
No, Detroit is plus 4,000 winning NFC. Bet that right now.
Plus 4,000, huh? Wow,
They're ahead of the Giants at plus 6,000 too.
crazy. All right, want to give our picks for the week?
Let's do it.
All right, you want to lead off?
I'll lead off. All right, first pick. All right, like I said in the beginning, this is the first week that I'm actually going to bet in real life. So hopefully this goes well. All right, since we're on the Lion train, the Lions +1 versus the Jets. I mean, Mike White, I don't think is going to be 100%. That I told you that he should sue that O-line. And I think the Lions, even though the Jets have a top 5 defense, Sauce Gardner's going to lock down somebody. I think they'll get it done. +1 is a short spread.
So my premium pick of the week, Peter, I'm going against you because you've mocked them the entire show. I'm gonna go with the Vikings -4. They're at home against the Colts. Look, I'm still not again. Nobody's a believer of the Indianapolis Colts, nor should anybody be. They're coming off a bye. I get that all, but the Vikings are coming off a pretty demoralizing loss, and I think the Vikings come out firing. I like them here -4. It's a good spot for them and a bounce back spot. That's my premium pick of the week.
I don't hate that. Colts
Okay,
are terrible. I don't hate that. Next pick I have is the Eagles -9 versus the Bears. I'm gonna just pick with the Eagles until they prove me wrong. Every time I pick against the Eagles, they like cover the spread by like 1,000,000 points. They are 11-1 for a reason, even though I don't think they should be 11-1. But watch out for the Eagles. There's no way they make the Super Bowl, but like good for them too.
I'm going to pick that game as well, but I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to take the over 48.5 in that game. I think both of these offenses have proved they can be potent, and I like the over in that. The Eagles' offense is humming, and it feels like the Bears' defense is one of the worst units in the NFL. So I like the over here, over 48.5.
I'm gonna actually bet this in real life. Chargers -3, no surprise. I mean, Chargers big win versus Miami. The Titans look absolutely terrible. They look dreadful, and Derrick Henry looks like the. Maybe he has a foot injury from last year, but Titans look terrible.
Peter, I will say I'm not going to bet this to upset you, but I am going to pick the Titans +3.
Oh,
You know
I'm
why,
betting that
Peter?
for sure in real life. No,
I'm betting the Titans +3. Titans have looked really bad the last 2 or 3 weeks. They need a bounce back spot here, and the Chargers are coming off a really good win. And again, the Chargers will Chargers. They are going to lose this game, Peter. I'm sorry. Titans +3.
next pick, I'm gonna bet this in real life too. Commanders -4.5. As I said before, the Giants have lost 3 of the last 4 games. I don't care if they just played 2-3 weeks ago. Commanders are the better team, and Chase Young might actually hit the field. I've been saying that for like 5 weeks, but maybe he actually will.
My next one, I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers -2.5. They're hosting the Steelers. The Steelers have some uncertainty at the quarterback position. Kenny Pickett was banged up. They have some injuries. The Panthers are playing some really good football, man. I like them here, -2.5.
And if this isn't on your slate, you should be fired from the show. My premium pick of the week. You have to do it. We're going just for that. I mean, Patriots -1. Simple as that. I mean,
yeah, I saved that for last as well. It's not my premium.
No, premium pick of the week. I'm betting that in real life. That's probably the most money I'm going to bet on a sports bet.
Patriots -1. That is my final pick as well, Peter.
All right, good. That is on your slate. Matt's gonna call us Bobos, and then I hope he like calls us out because like then it's a guaranteed win. So
it's a very fair point. Very fair point. All right, Peter, you want to switch some gears here? Talk a couple minutes on the World Cup.
If you want to, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I will.
It's the worst case scenario for you, actually.
I'll be fair. And Peter is referring to Portugal, who looked like they were in prime position to make a semifinal appearance, possibly a finals appearance, and they kind of tripped over their own shoes, lost to Morocco in the quarterfinals, which is a complete disappointment for
Ronaldo got benched.
Yeah, I mean, benching Ronaldo proved to be the wrong decision. The coach is going to get fired. It's been not been a good for the Portuguese Federation, losing to Morocco 1-0 in the quarterfinals. That
Morocco though.
And yes, and again,
Morocco.
As we record this on Tuesday, the Argentina-Croatia game just concluded. Argentina's going to the finals. They beat Croatia 3-0. And again, as I just said, we're recording this on Tuesday. So France-Morocco is set to take place on Wednesday, which was yesterday. So we don't know who wins that game. I'm going to say France wins that game.
I told you, this is worst case scenario. What do you do if it's Argentina versus Morocco? Like, you can't root for Messi. And you can't root for...
I'll root for Morocco. It'd be a good
All right,
story.
cool. No, because if Morocco makes the finals, I'm gonna bet them like hard in real life. That's gonna be the bet. It's gonna be Morocco and then Pats minus 1.5.
And Messi has shown whenever you think Messi and Argentina have it, they always blow it. Like they've been accustomed to this the last 10 years. But I think France is ultimately going to win the whole World Cup. Mbappe's humming. He could win the Golden Boot. He's killing it. France, better team. They're a better team. They just beat England. England had an opportunity. Harry Kane missed a penalty kick, and he kicked it in the 15th row in the stands. So that was unfortunate. Because I picked
Brazil
England to
losing
win
to
the whole thing.
Croatia really
Yeah. Yeah, it really surprised me too. I thought Croatia was going to give Argentina a fight on Tuesday, and that did not come to fruition.
No, not at all.
So that's our World Cup minute, Peter. Next time we record, we will, I guess, we can recap the final. Yeah, we'll have a winner. All right, Peter, but I kind of teased it last week, and I felt like this is probably a good thing to do. Getting a little bit of baseball talk for a couple minutes, Peter. We've been putting this off for a little bit as the hot stove didn't simmer for the longest time, but it's simmered the last couple of weeks, and we finally got some moves and some signings. So I'm going to give you a couple here. We'll start off with Aaron Judge, who re-signed with the Yankees on a 9-year deal. Aaron Judge, who was rumored to go to the San Francisco Giants, did not end up coming to fruition, and with the Giants, and Judge stays in New York with a 9-year, $360 million deal. That's a $40 million AAV. And it was, I think, the highest AAV for a position player in MLB history.
Yeah, good job, Yankees. I mean, you got you wanted. That contract's going to look bad at the end, like Miguel Cabrera's, but you got to do what you got to do, and John Heyman should be fired for false reporting the Giants. Right when John Heyman put that tweet out, I was like, there's no way he goes to the Giants now. I thought he was going to go there, though.
I thought there was a shot, but I ultimately always felt that he was destined to stay in New York. And from everything that I've read about Aaron Judge, he's a very loyal individual who that's one of his core values. And he still has his agent from like single A ball. Like he's a very, I understand he plays for New York and it's a big spot and all this and that, but he's a very loyal individual.
Good for Judge, though. $40 million a year.
The Yankees did the right thing. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
That's what happens when you bet on yourself and win MVP.
Right. And what was the initial offer the Yankees offered him? Was it 210 or whatever? I think it was like 60 or something.
I think it was like I thought it was 7 and 210.
7 and 210. Okay, yeah, and he made himself like so much more. All right, moving along. Jake DeGrom, arguably the best pitcher in the MLB right now. He is moving on from the Mets. He signed with the Texas Rangers. He signed a 5-year deal, a lot of money. And Jake DeGrom, who is 34 years old, who has dealt with some injuries throughout his career, is leaving the Mets. This one surprised me a little bit. Heading to Texas. Texas has showed their ability to spend money over the last couple of years, and they haven't been afraid to spend. And they lock up Jake DeGrom, who, when healthy, is arguably the best pitcher in baseball. But again, health is something. So it was a 5-year, $185 million deal with DeGrom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it for the Rangers because they got to go for it. And I don't hate it for the Mets either because they replaced them. I'm sure we'll get there with Justin Verlander and the Asian pitchers, Senga. So, like, they didn't lose that much. And Jacob DeGrom's not going to be healthy for a whole year. So.
Yeah, I think ultimately Texas is betting on DeGrom being healthy. And the Mets are kind of betting on DeGrom not being healthy. So I think that's kind of how it went. And DeGrom got paid a significant amount. And I'm not surprised that it ultimately went this direction because it felt like if Steve Cohen, who has proved that he's willing to spend any sort of money necessary, felt like the deal would have already got done if they wanted to keep him. That's how I felt.
Yeah, because, the Mets are spending no matter what.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Trey Turner, formerly of the Dodgers, right? Trey Turner, 29-year-old shortstop. He's moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies, Dave Dombrowski, who's going to spend 11 years, $300 million on Trey Turner. A lot of money for Trey Turner. Peter, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I got a good deal. It'll be terrible at the end. Trey Turner gets the bag. I don't think the Dodgers are going to re-sign him anyway. But it's good for the Phillies. They needed a shortstop forever. And I like Trey Turner.
Yeah, I like Trey Turner too. That's a lot more money than I thought it was going to be. But the Phillies want to compete in the NL, man. They want to really show people that they can compete with the Mets and make a run. Of course, they're fresh off a World Series appearance. And Dave Dombrowski, as we know in Boston, is not afraid to spend money. All right, Peter, unfortunately, let's get to this one. Speaking of Boston, our guy Xander Bogaerts is moving on from the Red Sox to the Padres as he signed a lucrative 11-year, $280 million deal with the San Diego Padres, who now have like 4 shortstops on the roster. Bogaerts, after a Great run in Boston. I was very disappointed to find out that he moving on to the Padres, but I don't necessarily blame the Red Sox for not matching that offer. However, I do blame them for not getting a deal done the previous March.
Yeah, they should have got that done. They should have got like an 8-year, 240 million or whatever. They shouldn't have slapped in the face before spring training. I wouldn't have given him 11 years, but you can't blame Bogarts for taking that. Slap in the face of Red Sox fans, slap in the face of stupid. Listen, I'll call your friend out, Tyler. I don't really care. Heimblum should go if he doesn't re-sign Devers, and I don't think it's gonna happen either. He's gonna just let everybody walk out the door.
Is it a Heim Bloom problem or is it an ownership problem?
It's probably a little of both.
Tell you what, for signings like that, I put that more on ownership. While I do have concerns about Bloom going forward, I think ultimately that's an ownership thing, and I think they had probably had a line drawn in the sand, and that ultimately was the reason why they elected to not re-up with Bogarts. But tell you what, the Padres are in a very interesting spot here now. Of course, with Manny Machado, who could opt out at the end of next year. Fernando Tatis, of course, is returning. So what are they going to do? Are they going to end up moving Tatis? Are they just going to maybe try to move Machado? Like, they're in a very interesting situation. Bogart says he's playing shortstop, so
They're
see.
probably going to bank on Machado opting out. Tatis isn't going to be healthy for the start of the year. They'll figure it out. Put Tatis in left field. Put Tatis at second base. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Justin Verlander, who you kind of talked about earlier, Peter. Justin Verlander, fresh off his World Series victory with the Astros, is taking his talents to New York. As he signed with the New York Mets. Shocker. He agreed to a 2-year, $86.6 million deal. Verlander, at 39 years old, is going to turn 40 this coming February. How do you feel about giving a 40-year-old pitcher $86 million a year? Not a year, I'm sorry, for 2 years.
I mean, Verlander, like, he is 40, but he just won the World Series championship, and he just won the Cy Young. So, like, just pay him until the wheels fall off, ultimately. I don't know. Good for the Mets. I mean, just even if he breaks down, that's just going to be DeGrom, and they know how to deal with that situation because they've been dealing with that forever.
You're right, 100%. But however, if you look at the Mets, their whole pitching rotation is built around two 40-year-old guys, and Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. So maybe that could end up coming home to be an issue for them. Last but not least, Peter, I'll get to one more here. Is Brandon Nimmo. He signed an 8-year deal, $162 million deal with the New York Mets, of course, the outfielder, who a lot of people had him pegged to go somewhere else. He ended up re-signing with the New York Mets. And like you said, the rich get richer with the Mets.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Mets just will pay. Steve Cohen will just pay whatever he wants. Good for the Mets, though.
Yes, good for the Mets. I agree. And there is some, again, there's been a lot more other signings, but those are the bigger ones. Again, there is some big names still out in the market. Carlos Correa, of course, shortstop, formerly of the Minnesota Twins. He looks like he's going to move on. Carlos Rodon of the Giants, likely going to move on. Dansby Swanson of the Braves, I think he's likely moving on as well. So there is some talent here in free agency that could still impact this Major League Baseball season.
Yep, and the Red Sox won't get any of those.
Anyway,
They're not going to get Correa.
I don't think they're getting Correa.
Because they have Story. They're just going to.
I don't rule out Swanson, though. I think that one there's a shot because I don't think Swanson's market is necessarily as robust as he anticipated. I think Swanson is more likely than Correa. That's how I would say it.
For sure. They got to get a deal done. They got to get a deal done for Devers in the next 3 months.
It's going to be.
Or this whole city is going to go in anarchy.
Feels like the starting point is 10 years, $400 million. I know we kind of talked about Heimblum earlier, and he, like you said, he's going to get the brunt of it. But if I were him and they lose Devers, I'd be like, dude, like they told me not to spend. Like,
yeah, no.
He's going to end up getting fired over it. Ultimately, I think that's how it's going to end.
Well, the city's going to get light on fire if they don't.
He's going to end up getting fired for it, and he's going to be pissed.
Yep.
But again, I'm not saying Bloom's off the hook because you can poke holes in his Red Sox resume, a great deal of them, specifically the return for Mookie Betts. They really didn't get much back in return. Letting Kyle Schwarber go in free agency, not really able to replace him. Electing to go with a guy like Bobby Dahlback as opposed to paying Kyle Schwarber. And now you butchered the Xander Bogart situation. So, not ideal. All right, Peter, 5 questions, not about football. Whose turn is it?
You can do it.
My turn? Okay, so I'm asking you questions?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Peter, boom. So, Peter, as we said, we are going to Vegas. We've previously been to Vegas. We went in 2020 before the pandemic. What was your favorite casino?
Probably. All right, it's gonna be cliche. Probably Caesars. Did we go to Aria? That's where we're going.
We did. I would say I have a Snapchat and it is Aria.
No.
So we at least went once.
We have to go to wherever we didn't go.
You just stole my number 2 question.
Oh, sorry.
What are you most looking forward to seeing? Or what hotel, casino, something that you're most looking forward to seeing? So
I mean, MGM. Sorry.
MGM's the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the answer.
Okay, Peter. Question 3. So now I'm gonna. Okay. So of course there's an NFL team here in Vegas. Obviously going to watch them. What sport do you believe deserves a Vegas team? NBA, Major League Baseball, or I'll throw like the MLS in there. Which one do you think would do better?
Basketball, right? That's assumingly common, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I would agree
common.
with you. I think basketball makes a lot of sense there.
Just put it at the Golden Knights. Put it at T-Mobile Stadium.
Yeah,
where
that's
the
what they
Knights
would
play.
do. But the Oakland A's, I could see them end up moving to Vegas, so that could be something too. So
They're all gonna be there eventually.
it feels like Vegas is turning into a market that's been pretty rewarding because we've seen success with the Knights, and the Raiders are going to have success too. You know, they spent a lot of money building that stadium and that sort of thing. All right, question 4, Peter. Vegas is known, of course, as a gambling place, and you are a gambler.
No,
What is your favorite table game?
I mean, cliche. It's gonna be blackjack, but real table game. I mean, poker.
Okay, what is your least favorite table game?
What if I not played? Baccarat makes no sense. 3-card poker makes no sense. Roulette's fun, but like roulette sucks.
Peter says roulette is overrated.
It is. I mean, you're just chancing the ball goes in your number.
Yeah,
I mean, you
now
get
that I think
hyped.
about
But
You're not a
you get
big roulette
hyped.
guy. Yeah,
What?
you're not a big roulette guy. You're right.
No, I only play because everybody else does.
Yeah, you're right. I never. Yeah, you're right. And it's always by other people that you're kind of drawn into it, and you're like, oh, screw it.
I mean,
guess
I'll
gotta do
play
it.
it when we go there. When we get drawn in, but like,
Yeah,
that's not gonna be my first
but you're
choice.
not gonna willingly be like, I'm going to play roulette.
Oh, my favorite table game. I want to take that back. Is craps.
Ooh, okay,
Everyone's got to play craps.
interesting. All right, Peter. So that is just 5 questions, not about football. And again, thank you all for listening. And next week we'll have a recap of our trip, and we can recap another week in the NFL season. Maybe we'll get another MLB signing couple. Who knows? And we'll recap the World Cup. We'll go over how we did about our player props for the World Cup, because that'll be official as of next week. And I can promise you,
Oh God!
I don't think we got any right, but we'll go through it and see how it goes.
All right, stay hot. Hopefully, I got the final right. There's no way I didn't.